Hey everyone. All right, so let's practice a little bit more. You'll see, maybe you can see I have a wardrobe change, because it's the next day. So let's use our graphing calculator, or again, your phone with that Calculator 84 app. And what I'm going to do is type in my new equation. So I'll be, again, to access the absolute value bars, I'll be using this math button. And I'll scroll to the right to access that NUM, so I have the absolute value. Again, just remember that absolute value is a V shape. Where do you see that? Or it might be an upside down V shape, so just keep that in mind. And I'm going to type in X. Again, there's your X button, and it's X minus 5. Sorry, that's a bit of a glare. And then arrow out, and then it's going to be minus 8. So again, the first time we're ready to graph, we are always going to press zoom 6. That is a standard window, zoom 6. And hopefully that fits, and if it doesn't, then we got to adjust. So this almost fits. The problem is I can't see one of my x-intercepts. Remember, we always want to see our endpoints, our x-intercepts, so we're missing one, and our turning point. So what I needed to do is go further to the right. So I'm just going to press the window button. And I don't think I have to go that much further to the right. I'm just going to move it up to 15. And then once I do that, I can just hit graph. And that's great. So again, just some other things while I'm drawing my picture and you're drawing your picture. Negatives versus subtraction signs cause an error message. So that's just, I don't know, something that popped in my head because it's the next day. All right, let me just grab a different color so it stands out. And it's going to go something like this, something like this. All right, so again, what I'm going to need to do is find my x-intercepts, my turning point, and my end behavior points, the arrows, okay? All right, so let's start with the end behavior. So again, hopefully you're figuring out the pattern. This is going to the left. So when it goes to the left, on the left side of your graph, you will always have negative infinity for x. And on the right, since this arrow will always be going right, you're always going to have infinity. What the difference is going to be is what the y is. So on this side, it's going up, so that's positive infinity. And on this side, it's going up, so that's positive infinity. What I'm going to do next is find my minimum point. So again, to do that, you press second trace. You're going to choose minimum, so you choose option 3. So I just press 3. And again, just a reminder, I always like to go to where I think it is first. And then when it says left bound, I arrow to the left, hit enter. And then I go back to where I think it is. And when it says right bound, I go to the right, hit enter. And again, on the phone, you're done. On the calculator, like I'm doing, it will ask me one more thing, guess. I'll hit enter. And it's 5. And again, we're just going to be rounding that to negative 8. All right, so I'm going to write that down. There's 5, negative 8. And now I'm going to find the x-intercepts. And just a reminder, since the last video, is all x-intercepts have x as a value and y as 0. X as a value and y as 0. So when I do press the second trace, I will be choosing 0. They don't call it x-intercepts. So pick which one you want to find. So again, I always go to where I think it is. And then for left bound, I go to the left, hit enter, go back to where you think it is, go to the right, hit enter, one more time for guess, and it's 13, 0. And then the left one, so second trace, you got to start over, press 0 again. I got an arrow all the way over, so this is going to take a moment. All right, I'm where I think it is, go left, enter, go back to where you think it is, now go to the right for right bound, enter, and enter again. So that one is negative 3, 0. All right, I got my points, and that's all I had to do. Using your graphing calculator, graph that, sketch your window, and complete and draw and the function, which we did, and label all the important points. I should probably read those directions first. All right, last set. So this one, we're not going to use the graphing calculator. It's just a reminder, you don't have to have the graphing calculator, get all the information. But what I am going to do is get all my points. So use the graph of d of t below to answer the questions. This is time in seconds, and this is the distance from home plate. So again, this is the origin, so that's 0, 0. here's a turning point, and you know they're going up by 12s. So I don't know what this point is. Maybe this is 374. This point, we're just going to say it's at 7, 114. And these are just estimates on my part. And then over here, 11, and let's just make it 74 again. And then down at the bottom, 15 and 0. Okay? And if you notice, the graph, I'm going to put a dot there instead of an arrow. Because, first of all, if this graph were to keep going on this side, it would cross over onto the left side of the y-axis where x is negative and time isn't negative. And if this were to continue, it would go past the x-axis where y is negative. And remember, this is a distance, and distance isn't negative, so I'm going to stop it there. All right, so based on the label axis, what is this graph measuring? Someone, probably a baseball player, someone's distance, or softball, from home plate as they're running the bases. Whoops, you can't see that. All right, when is the function increasing, and what does this tell you about the situation? So hopefully we've gotten a little bit better with this. Here it's increasing. It turns, but it's still increasing. And then we have our big down part. So it's going to start at 0, and it's going to end at 7, parentheses. And what does this tell you about the situation? The player is running away from home plate. So what's happening here, as time goes by, his distance is getting further and further and further away from home plate. He stops, and then he starts to come back to home plate. All right, what does D of 3 mean? So we actually have to pick that point. So we write it like this. And what is that in context? It just means after 3 seconds. Remember, this is x, this is t. T is time. And this is your y, and y is 74. The player is 74 feet from home plate. All right, find the average rate of change. Again, these are the x values. So if x is 4, I'm going to have to check out what y is. And if x is 13, I'll also have to check out what y is. So these, as it turns out, are not any of the points I picked. So for 4, it's going to be 84. And for 13, it's going to be 36. So again, average rate of change is just slope. Subtract your y's on top. Subtract your x's on the bottom, which I have to subtract the same way. Let's see, 84, take away 36. It's the morning, and I'm not thinking that. That's 48. And 4 take away 13 is negative 9. So then again, you got to make it over 1, so you just divide them. And I get negative 5.33 over 1. And now I'm going to explain what it means in context. So remember, this whole numerator are the y's, and y's is the distance. This is your feet. And the whole denominator represents x, and x is your time, so this is your seconds. And heads up, the bell is going to ring here, maybe. You might hear it. So what does this mean? On average, or the player, is returning to home plate at a rate of, oh boy, 5.33 feet every second. You know, that's his speed. Sorry, you can't see that. And how do I know he's going back to home plate? Because it's negative. If it were positive, we'd be averaging this part. But since it's negative, we're kind of averaging this part. All right, so d of t equals 96. So again, this is y is 96. So I'm going to go up to where y is 96. And I actually get 5, and I get 9. So I get D of 5 is 96, and D of 9 is 96. And what does it mean? It says the player, let me draw a line here, was 96 feet from home plate. There we go, there's the bell. At 5 and 9 seconds. So I'm going to see some of your lovely faces here in just a moment. Today's a silver day, so the last part of the alphabet. All right, so you're going to have some practice here. All right. Just a heads up, we are going to be starting to submit our notes on OneNote. So again, make sure these notes are done because we're going to be taking pictures. We're going to practice in class still as much as we can. When you go through the practice, what you see here are the Windows settings. So when you do number 1, okay, and just a reminder, you got your parentheses here, here's your squared button, but what you'll do for your window here is have your X-min, sorry you can't see that, be -4, not subtract 4, 8, you'll go down to Y-min and do -6, 20, and then you'll just hit graph. So this is not the right shape. Okay, but the windows have been set up so that it works and you don't have to do any guessing there. All right, that's it. Come on in. Good morning. Good morning.